So when are new potatoes ready to harvest? Well, today we're going to find out the answer together, and I'm going to take you along with me as I harvest my new potatoes for the year so you can get a sense of the process while we go over the answer. Welcome to True Freedom Permaculture, where I show you all the tips and tricks you need to have a green thumb, even if you weren't born with one. Let's head out to my garden. Now the first sign that you're almost ready to harvest your new potatoes is you'll see flowers blooming. And these flowers can appear anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks after you plant your potatoes initially. But they can appear usually around like 8 weeks or so. And if you see flowers, it's a pretty safe bet that you have potatoes growing underground. And you know, I would wait after the flowers bloom. You can wait a couple weeks, which sometimes they say is a good idea, just to let the potatoes get a little bit bigger. So if you want to do that, that's fine. I want to say here too that not always do potatoes flower. So the flower, waiting for the flower method is not foolproof. So I would just keep track of when you planted your potatoes and then wait for about 2 months after that. And then either way, whether you see flowers or whether you don't, you can start poking around at that time underneath and try to see if you can find some. So here, for example, we have some, and I'll just pull it off so you can see this better. But yep, so we do have some. So that's a sign to me that the new potatoes are ready to harvest. And new potatoes are great because they have thinner skins. So for those of you, if you've seen any of my cooking videos, you know that I'm a fan of leaving skins on whenever possible because that's where the most of the nutrition is. But for those of you that have a texture thing with skins, I understand. But new potato skins are so thin and delicate that you don't have to remove them first before cooking if you normally would with a regular potato. So after initially feeling around with my hands for potatoes, then I know that they're ready to go. So what I can do is also notice that this is a good time for me to start pulling up these potatoes because some of these leaves are showing signs of maybe like early blight. It's been really humid this summer, so very conducive for disease spreading. So it's also a good idea just to get this foliage out of the garden anyway. So let's pull these up. Let me show you here. We're going to pull them up out of the ground. And you can see a nice size one here. These are Keuka Gold potatoes. So they have a golden flesh and they're really buttery and creamy. Very versatile. So that's a good size one here. And you're going to have some smaller ones too. The root system's just incredible. Lots of thin roots all over. And I'm probably missing some because I just pulled it up. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm not going to compost these since they are showing signs of early blight and I don't want it to spread to my compost. So I will unfortunately just have to put these in the garbage bin. So now you'll just want to go back to where you took the potatoes out initially and feel around to see if you've missed any more. Which I definitely have. There we go. Wouldn't want to miss that one. Got a little crevice in that one, but that's okay. Still going to taste good. I'm actually surprised at how big these are, considering they just flowered a couple weeks ago. So now that I can't really feel anymore with my hands, I'm going to go in with a fork. And what would be ideal for this really is one of those like handheld smaller garden forks, but I don't have one, so I'm going to work with what I have. I just have the larger garden fork, so I'm going to start doing that now. You don't want to go too close to where the plant was growing because you risk then kind of stabbing your potatoes, and that's not what you want. So I'm just going to gently kind of lift up the soil, see if I missed any. There's something else that I want to show you that you might come across when you're harvesting your potatoes, and these are the potato berries, and they are what the potato flowers eventually turn into. You see, they look kind of like small cherry tomatoes, and because they're in the nightshade family, similar to tomato plants, they also have similar foliage, so they're easily mistaken for small tomatoes by especially kids and maybe even pets. And so if you have either of those, you might want to consider removing them so they're not a temptation, and really educating, depending on how old your kids are, educating them on what they are and not to eat them, because they contain high levels of something called solanine, which is toxic and poisonous, and it can make you very sick. So you definitely want to avoid eating those. Okay, so I think we got all from that area, so I've moved on to a new area. And we're just gonna do the same thing here. Now, the pulling up method, I will say I have fairly loose soil in this area because I've been using the no-dig gardening method for a while now. If you have more clay soil, I think a better method would be, because I think if you were to pull these up in clay soil, you might just pull the tops off. So I would actually cut off the tops to make it a little bit easier, and then take your garden fork and just go right in with the garden fork right away and start prying up the soil that way, because the clay soil is just going to be a little bit heavier and a little harder to get the potatoes out. Okay, so again, it's huge! I really wasn't expecting potatoes this big, but hey, I'll take it. The other thing that I could have done is there's the hilling up method, which is great, and I probably would have gotten a larger potato yield had I done that. In future years, I probably will do that, but I just didn't do it this year. So again, I'm just using the fork to kind of pry up the soil, feeling around with my fingers to see if I have any more. And I might not from that plant. That might be the only one, which would explain why it's so big. I was like, I'm gonna give you this big potato, and I'm done. So I have my potatoes, and I'm going to boil up probably either, I don't know, maybe like today or tomorrow, and I'm probably going to use, they'd be perfect in like a niçoise salad, something like that, but they're so great because you don't have to store them. And what's nice about harvesting new potatoes, if you had more, what you could do is you could just pull off one potato per plant, like one or two, and a lot of people do that, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to free up this bed. I have a tomato plant here, it's a green zebra, and I want to create more space and allow for more light. And then also what you can do with this space where the potato plants previously were is that I can get another planting in. So I could put some seeds in for a fall crop and have some more room. I've given my potatoes a rinse because I'm not storing them long term, and I can't wait to take these in and cook them up. So, just in case you need some extra motivation to grow potatoes next year, these are my boiled new potatoes. I just boiled them for about 10 minutes in some salted water. I really wanted to keep it simple because I'm so excited to have these this year. I really just want to taste mostly just their pure flavor. And I put a few healthy knobs of grass-fed butter on there and some fresh scallion from the garden. And that's a sunchoke. Sunchoke made it in too. But I am really excited to have this as part of my dinner tonight. So I just hope this video inspires you to grow some potatoes of your own. And if you're looking for another tuber that's really fun to dig up and have as part of your garden, you might want to check out my Jerusalem artichoke video that I made, and I'll put that on the screen coming up now. Feel free to click on it and I will meet you over there. All right, I'll see you all soon.